I have the key. I have one sitting right in there.
What'd you do before you bought this place? What'd you do before moving to Tehuacana?
Well, actually, I have lived an academic life.
Okay.
I've been a professor and just retired 3 years ago. And so even while I was here, bought this, for part of that time, I would commute back and forth to teach different places, universities,
Okay.
different places. I taught for 20 years at master's and PhD level students, taught philosophy, classics, Greek, things like that. Taught that for 20 years in Louisville, but I would come here when school was out.
Okay.
So, as soon as school was out in end of November, I'd come here. I'd be here December, January, then go back and teach February, March, April, May, and then come back and be here all summer.
Okay.
I would teach also. We had extension centers in New York City. I was there every weekend for 3 years.
That's amazing.
And but I had my fill of New York City. You couldn't tempt me there. I can't think what it would take.
What you bought this in 1990?
1991, the last day of May, 1991.
Awesome.
It actually first, there's a little story about it. John Jenkins, not the one you know.
Not the one I know.
The one who's dead. He was a wheeler dealer in Austin. And he would go get into deals and stuff, and he got into financial trouble, and he had this property because he had bought this and wanted to turn it into, I'm not sure what, but they'd started doing some restoration work, but it's a major project. But anyway, make a long story short, he went under, and this was during the savings and loan. Y'all are all too young to know.
I studied it.
Oh, you studied it. But he went bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
They called the note in on this. This was the guarantee for his loans, and the bottom line is, they had an auction on the county courthouse steps to sell this. I showed up. I was the highest real bidder who actually had money to buy it, and but then the S&L itself put in a much higher bid, so they were playing funny with numbers. They were buying it themselves, and they owned the note on it. It just wanted to make it look better on paper. That's how the S&L mess got to be a mess.
Oh, I know. People were loaning themselves money.
Yeah.
If you owned a savings and loan and you built something commercial, you could loan yourself an infinite amount of money, essentially.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a mess. And make a long story short, they bought it, and then 3 months later, that S&L went under. Just went under. And Bush 1 said, we got to get rid of all this property. So they just started selling it off on pennies on the dollar.
So what'd you pay for it?
Oh, less than $50,000.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
To get a historical artifact built in the World War or in the Civil War era.
Yeah.
For $50,000.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was ballpark what it was. And so then, but the price isn't what the headache is. It's what it costs to restore it.
Oh, I know.
I mean, they could have given it to you for free, and you're still.
I know.
You're still out to.
Well, we were talking about that. they asked me because they know I'm in real estate. They were like, "What would you pay for it?" And I was like, "Man, it could be $1, and I couldn't afford it."
Exactly.
I was like, it ain't what you see here. It's the amount of restoration it would take to get it going.
Exactly. So y'all been to Lampasas?
We have.
You know that old stagecoach? It was a stagecoach stop and hotel, stone walls like that.
Okay.
Right downtown.
I know I've driven past it. We got a house out there.
Now the guy who owns that was out here one day just walking around looking. He's just interested in historic things, and he was just curious about this. But turns out he's totally restored that thing. But he's a very wealthy law business guy, and so he has no problem with that. Well, I mean, you could find something big enough that you'd have a problem with.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway. So we bought it then. I have a board. I'm set up as a 501c3 nonprofit corporation.
Okay.
Which makes us able to take donations for which you get a tax credit and or a deduction. And so look at the recent issue of the Texas Highways magazine, and they did a write-up on it because the Texas Historical Society just named the top 50 buildings that are falling apart.
Yeah, buildings in disrepair.
Yeah. And it's, going to have a short life or whatever.
Right.
So, but the first indoor basketball court in the state of Texas was in the attic in that building.
In the attic?
In the attic. It was, basketball was invented 1893 in Massachusetts. 1893.
How tall is the attic that it can have?
It's not standard size.
I got you.
It's not standard size. And I don't think they had a standard size the first few years.
Right.
That sort of evolved. And then in 1924, that gymnasium was built as standard size.
Okay.
And it's still usable over there. Shot a lot of videos over there.
Awesome.
Music videos and stuff.
So this was originally a college, and then the last time it originally was Trinity College.
Trinity University.
Trinity University.
San Antonio.
And it moved to San Antonio, and then another university bought it.
Westminster College.
Okay.
1902 or 4.
And it operated
to 72.
All the way to 72.
Yeah.
So
and then they shut down.
And then they called it quits.
Yeah. Well, actually, they merged with Westminster College merged with another school named Westminster College in Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay.
So they left this location.
This area.
And then it went through several hands, and then I came on the scene in 91.
What was your original interest in it? Why'd you want to buy?
I wanted to have a place for a study center, retreat center, conference center, and we will still have conferences here. Every year we have a summer arts conference out here.
Okay.
Because the dorm over there will sleep about 70 or 80 people.
And that's the old women's dorm.
That's the old women's dorm.
And this was the men's dorm.
Yeah, and we put in central heat and air over there, which didn't have that, and put in new roof and insulation and just a lot. We've sunk $2 or $3 million in this place.
That's amazing.
I know it. You can sink a lot of money real quick.
Oh, I know.
So if you're doing work. So anyway, yeah,
the dorm over there, it looks like it has a kitchen off the side, or it's got a big vent.
That's a kitchen on the
they
added that later. I don't know when.
Have you ever had any weddings out here?
Oh yeah. Had tons of weddings.
That just seems like people are paying an exorbitant amount of money for weddings. So they asked me what I would do with it if I had an infinite amount of money, and I said, If I had an infinite amount of money, it would be a wedding/event center.
Well, we use it. We have weddings there. We had any weddings inside because the building's not been usable inside since I've been here,
Okay.
except for 1 or 2 rooms inside.
Right.
And now nothing's usable inside. But we've had a lot of outdoor weddings in front of the building. And then over in Louisiana Hall, they can have reception
Right.
and food and stuff like that.
If somebody came up here and wanted to buy it, what would be your number to sell it? Do you have a number?
Don't have a number.
Never even thought about it.
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, I could be tempted.
Well, I don't have no money,
I
but
was going to say you couldn't do it.
I can't do it. But like I was thinking, Chip and Joanne walked over here and said, "Hey, I want to write you a check. What would it take?"
Oh, well, they may be able to do it.
they might be able to.
They may. Oh, I don't know. A few million.
Okay. What your plans as time moves on? Like, what do you want to raise funds to bring the big building
Well,
back
we
to
are
life?
now. We're in the process of hiring professional grant writers
Okay.
because you need that for big amounts.
Oh yeah.
Bake sales won't cut the mustard on that.
It'd be real hard to do it selling pound cake.
Yeah. No, you couldn't do it. So we're, in discussions with professional grant writers
Okay.
who have see this Texas Historical Society is actually in touch with foundations, and also that to get their endorsement is a grants credibility.
Okay.
And also our longevity grants credibility too.
Well, if somebody wanted to send you money, how could they send you?
Okay, they just P.O. Box 100, Tehuacana, Texas, made out to the Trinity Institute, and I'll send them a tax receipt.
Okay.
So for $1 or for $1,000 or $10,000, it'll be tax deductible because we're all set up with the IRS for
Okay.
tax deduction.
Well, I hate that insurance won't let us walk in that building.
Well, a lot of people are, but that's just the way it is.
I think this would do a few million views on YouTube if we could get shots of the inside of the building.
Well, get you one of those cameras that flies around, and you can do it from the top.
Yeah. Y'all got a drone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do a drone. I just don't want your body inside in there.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you could use something like that.
Okay. Well,
You'd be welcome to use something like that.
any interesting facts about the building or the history of the college? Anything that we wouldn't be able to find online that people?
Well, what was the black basketball group in New York?
Oh, the Harvard Globetrotters.
They played in that building in 1923.
Really?
Yeah, it's written up there on the wall and the beam that fell. And I had pictures of it. And the beam we still have the beam. And it said Harlem Globetrotters 1923.
Okay.
Had a guy out here writing a book on Texas basketball courts. He said that's the oldest indoor basketball court in Texas. And so then he went over and took pictures of that basketball court because the next year it was built. And I showed him that. I said, is that graffiti? Is that even possible? He said, oh yeah. He said, because the Globetrotters, like now, they'll go play college campuses all over the country. They did it then.
That's
and
amazing.
particularly, they travel to small towns and rural areas, like this, and have a big game up there.
Is this the first college in the state of Texas?
No, Baylor and Southwestern University in Georgetown are in a fight about who's the oldest. I say Baylor was. I graduated from Baylor. And then any graduate from Southeastern will say they were.
So how'd you learn about this place? I mean, you just always knew about it because
No, I never
Waco?
knew about it. I went to Baylor, and that's just, Waco's just 30 miles
Yeah.
away. I'd never heard of it. And they were still having school. I graduated from Baylor in 70, and they didn't shut down until 72. And so, no, it was still cooking. But, I made a trip to Mahia one time when I was at Baylor and never heard about it. So I came out here one time to go to a church in Mahia and never heard about it. But when I heard about it was when they were going to have the sale on the county courthouse steps.
Yeah, the auction.
The auction. And it was on every major news outlet in Texas. Houston, Austin, San Antonio, all the major, you couldn't get advertising like that because this famous historic building was going to be auctioned off. And so here, you couldn't get free advertising. So it probably had more advertising than any single building in the state of Texas that was for sale.
That's amazing.
Isn't it amazing?
And only brought 50 grand.
Yeah, well, there's only 3 real bidders there that showed up. But see, I think most people are just like you. They say, well, even if you give it to me.
Yeah.
They tried to give it to the state, and the state said, no, we don't want it. We don't want to.
And that's crazy to me.
Well, but see, they would have been obligated to restore it.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do that. So, no, they just said no, 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 no. And so whether or not it'll ever be restored, I don't know, but I plan to stick with it as long as I'm kicking.
So if somebody had $2 million cash, they could buy it. Thereabouts.
Well, I don't know. I'd probably jack the price up if they said that.
You knew they have more than.
Because if they got $2 million, they probably have 10.
Yeah. If they got $2 million, they definitely have 3.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
Hey, you already got 2. You can go up one more.
No, looky there. There's the school bus. You can set your watch by that school bus. 4:20. It's 4:20. You'll drop the kid off there, and then drop a kid off there.
It is 4:20.
Well, it's almost exactly. Not
Almost
quite,
exactly.
but yeah. So anyway, but no, we rented out over here. We have an arts conference every summer here,
Okay.
and I have top drawer people. I have New York people who produce plays, Broadway plays.
Yeah.
Actual Broadway producers that are friends of mine that come out here. And through friends, I've met a lot of people, like the guy who was the head of the, president of Paramount.
Right.
He was well connected. He was the connection.
Yeah.
And his son, and then other people, just tons of people. And so I just figured someday maybe, we'd run into somebody who would say, I'd like to, has a vision for it, but has the money.
That's right. Have you had any bids on the building? Do you know what it would take? Rough estimate of what you think it would
10
take?
million.
$10 million to get it back going.
Yeah, in fact, the day after, a year ago last June, we just finished our arts conference where I had some of the top visual artists, top film guys, and these others, friends out here doing that. And it's one of these, it's by invitation only. So I'd gone to bed, and my guy that worked for me was knocking on my door at 8:30 in the morning, and I thought, it better be the end of the world.
Pretty close.
Because, yeah, because I'm sleepy. Oh, hope I didn't mess you up.
No, you're right.
So anyway, make a long story short, I got up and he said, well, I have some bad news. I said, well, say it quickly. He said, the roof fell in. I said, oh, finally. I said, I wasn't surprised because, I keep an eye on stuff. And I was in a race with the building to raise money to put on a new roof and to, replace the roof.
What was the bid to put on a new roof?
Oh, at the time, just $150,000.
Okay.
But the guy I brought out here, he said it would have cost a lot more than that to do it.
Oh,
right.
I think so.
That's what he told me. So anyway, when he woke me up, and so I got up, got a shower, and then went to the phone and called the county courthouse in Hill County, because that is the most beautiful
It is
county seat in Texas.
It's a beautiful
It's the
courthouse.
Taj Mahal.
It is.
Stuff. And it had burned, and
Yeah.
and so they word on the street was they had the best people in the business who did that. So I called and I said, who was the guy who did this? They gave me his name and his phone number and his office in Dallas. And within a half an hour, I called him and I said, well, I'm Jim Parker. I have the old Trinity University college building in Tehuacana, and the roof just crashed in, and I need to talk with somebody about restoration. And so I had to leave a message on the machine. So about 30 minutes later, I get a call, and he said, this is so-and-so in Dallas at the, whatever the architectural place is. And I said, well, I started my spiel about Texas Hall and what it was. He said, I know all about Texas Hall. I've had my eye on that building for 30 years. I want to get my hands on that building and restore it. I said, that's been my prayer. I said, well, your prayers are answered. Because that's why I'm calling you, because last night the roof caved in. He said, well, it was bound to happen. But he used to stop by here going to Austin and going.
Did he get you a
from
bid?
Dallas. He said about 10 million.
Wow.
And so, anyway, but he wanted to work with us, and so we spent a good amount of time together. I mean, this happened on like a Wednesday, and by the following Monday, he had his whole crew out here, building engineers and just
Everybody.
all of his hand-picked crowd
Yeah.
out here. And they walked through it. And then, and told me the good news, the bad news, and the indifferent news. And so, one of the encouraging things is that they had a lot of financial contacts, because they know foundations which are sort of looking for places that don't advertise. They look for places to restore and to invest, and invest in the sense of restore, that are in danger of being lost forever. And so they've been very helpful in that way. So anyway, so we're working with them.
Okay.
And so working on professional grant writers.
Okay.
So we get small gifts, but and there may be a few sort of gifts from the public that come in, but I don't foresee
What's the P.O. box again?
100.
100. Easy enough.
Yeah, it's right there on that thing there.
100 Tehuacana.
You can take a picture of that.
Okay.
It has what we're doing,
Get that.
what it's about.
Okay. So, well,
That metal sign there.
do you mind if where can we walk around at? And
You can walk around anywhere outside.
okay.
Just don't go in beyond any fences.
Okay.
Or if the fence is locked, don't crawl over it.
We see no trespass, and we know what that means in Texas.
Yeah.
So that's why I came up here and I saw your number on the deal, and I was like, well, heck, I'll try that.
Yeah, I did have that down on the historic marker down there.
Somebody
but
must have took it down.
Somebody ripped it down. If you can tell, it's torn.
Yeah.
The metal there, it's torn. So I put it up here. I want to get another one and hang it down there.
Well, I appreciate you taking your time to
I'm glad to
hang out with us today.
visit with you.